On behalf of an organization called County Governance Watch, whose sole purpose is to watch over devolved governments of Kenya, really by presenting proposals and recommendations that strengthen and enhance devolution in the counties. In addition to this, we engage a lot in issues around leadership and governance, and so elections, peace and security really form the core of the work that we do. And so in the Mideast, we have organizations that are from, let me say, across the country, because beyond County Governance Watch, we engage with a network called the Peace Actors Forum that is represented by Madam Leah Kimathi. I think she's seated somewhere there. And also stakeholders from Mathare, Kibra, and other informal settlements that we engage with. They have sent me here with a 4-page document that I am not going to read, but I want to summarize it in brief. The first issue is, of course, taking note of the fact that our elections are necessarily standing as a trigger for violence, crisis, and dilemma. And this is happening because as a country, we have failed to really look at the far greater challenges that the country is facing. And so if you look at very many platforms that have been presented to us, very many conversations that have taken place in this country, there are lots of unfinished businesses. And that is why, even as we stand in this very non-partisan platform, we want to appreciate Baba. Because I keep telling people that if Baba told us that kulikuwa na mamluki pahali na kuna watu walikataa, na akasema nimewaona wameingia na mlango huu, na msipowazuia na kuwaziba watatoka na mlango hii ingine. After a few weeks, what happened? The faces of the mamlukis tulionyeshwa, waliangazwa. If Baba says that there is an issue with this server, if Baba says that there is an issue with this server, si basi tutaweka server pia wawe mamluki. Na baadaye kutakuwa na sehemu na pahali ambapo ukweli wa huo server utajulikana. And so we take note of processes such as the Kenya National Dialogue and Reconciliation processes of 2008 that raised issues. 4 among those issues: constitutional and legal institutional reforms, land reforms, tackling poverty and inequality, tackling unemployment, especially among young people, and of course cross-cutting issues such as consolidating national cohesion and unity while addressing transparency, accountability, and impunity. As a network and an agency, we are convinced that the political process that we currently have, especially bordering on largely the reasons why we are here, focus on humiliating competitors, critics, and those who do not agree with the views, rather than building consensus and strategies for solving our country's issues. So we take note of progressive processes that have taken place to try and deal with some of those concerns, but we are also convinced that the people, the economy, eradication of suffering and promoting dignity are not a preserve of politics and therefore of governments. Progressive voices have to be given their place at those particular tables. And that is why, beyond the Agenda 4 issues, the 3 concerns that I have raised are concerns that are bedeviling Kenyans today. Consequently, and despite being detailed in past review processes, including the Kenya and NEPAD APRM process reports, the Justice Waki and Krigler commissions, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission reports, the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission TJRC report that of course led to the 2007 2008 Kenya National Dialogue and Reconciliation process, the Vision 2030 document itself, and much more closely, we take note of progress and regress that have been made, that were made in the 2017 Joint Parliamentary Select Committee. And one agenda that not so many of us have talked about here today is the Building Bridges to Unity process that was quashed by our courts. These, ladies and gentlemen, are opportunities that give us the privilege, therefore, to make progressive steps that give us platforms to be able to exercise progressive aspects that therefore address the conflicts and the challenges that Kenyans are facing. The second broad conceptual challenge that we submit to Azimio today is the increasing feeling of hopelessness among the citizenry due to being disempowered, and indeed the lack of organizing, lack of an objective and consistent voices among the citizen groups. Must it be the Right Honorable Raila Odinga who will stand between the injustices that Kenyans are facing and the progressive steps that Kenyans require from their governments? The answer is no. And therefore we are hoping that in all these additional processes that are being undertaken, including the latest, which is the bipartisan process, that this degree of helplessness that Kenyans are facing is going to be addressed, and that it is neither the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and his fellow leaders and the government, but that Kenyans will begin to have the conscious thinking and understanding that we have a responsibility that has been given to us by our constitution to exercise certain sovereignty. Therefore, in finishing, what are our 6 proposals to Azimio and to the bipartisan committee? Number 1, we are proposing that we need to restructure the executive to dignify and institutionalize the opposition to perform its oversight role effectively within a presidential system. Now, this memorandum explains the pros and cons of a presidential system, the benefits that Kenya has been able to accrue between the presidential and even the parliamentary system that we enjoyed its stint a few years ago. The Constitution of Kenya, therefore, provides that elections, as Suba Churchill rightfully said, will be held every 5 years. But it also establishes an electoral management body, otherwise called the IEBC, Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. The mandate and the functions of that commission is to conduct free, fair, transparent, and accountable elections for Kenyans. In exercise of that mandate, Kenyans vote for 6 positions that, of course, interest different contestants. Going by past electoral experiences, we have been told that winning the presidency means getting everything and losing everything if you lose and fail to become the president. This is happening both at the national level, regional levels, county levels, but even at an individual level. When you run for president, like the 4 candidates who ran for office and did not lose it, where do we take you to? What does that mean for us as a people? And therefore we are proposing that we need to begin to have a conversation as candid as is possible to review this structure that therefore will be able to open up certain spaces for us to be able to look at how we can be able to strengthen accountability, transparency, and indeed integrity of various agencies. The second issue that we are raising, devolution. So strengthening devolution, institutional performance, and governance. We have seen, and as a network, we have undertaken an analysis of the promises that were made by both Azimio la Umoja and also Kenya Kwanza on devolution and the benefits that would be that would accrue to Kenyans with this. We are sorry to say that Kenya Kwanza government has failed to live by the dreams of Kenyans and the prospects that have been given to us through the Constitution of Kenya insofar as devolution is concerned. And therefore we are proposing that, 1, funds that have been contained by the national government that are supposed to go to county governments be released, and that the bipartisan process that has been proposed begins to have a candid conversation around how we can be able to forestall